Alright, welcome YouTube to another daily cast here with camera this time because we are on stream. Uh, and so we will imagine you're a wizard Larry facing Bonnie and Xfiend. Um, and so I'll have the info for you guys here. And since I have the camera here, well, maybe it doesn't hinder too much if I put it here. You have the wave and the typing, so that should be okay. Recurrent value is not really interesting here. But we do have here the 20 on 1 onto Cyanogen. We don't have the Snail, shall I say. And so he will be able to hold it with Double Tempest. Your Wizard Larry does go for the greedy start with the Wild Shroom, does not receive a Snail here, and so he will be able to be very safe on wave 2. Um, you then have the Bounty Hunter start from Bonny, so a very slow start, but it can have the mid game. We have a lot of Bounty Hunter start recently um, in the casts, but it should be pretty good. We do have here the positioning of X-God, allowing a partial tank of both the Steed and the Gate Guard. So this is a better positioning to hold the Snail, but a Wave 3 can be a little bit tricky, so you need to be careful on that. Possibly adding another Steed here could fix it, so we'll see. Question here, this positioning from Tempest is ideal for split tanking um, if there's a split. But even if there's no split, there is still an okay split between the damage of the two. When there's a melee mercenary, yes, one of the two takes more aggro, but the idea is that you had a little split here, and if the split dies, it goes on the side one, and the main one tanks the mercenary as well as the half the wave. So that's the ideal positioning and why it's done. We do have here the addition to be good on 4. Wave 3 can be problematic, but Bonny does not go here, and it is X-God going for a DT on 3 can be quite deadly here if Cyanogen does not prepare for that wave. He does go for the Oathbreaker, so that's pretty good. We do have here the Serpent to prepare furthermore for wave 4 and also protect the Valshroom. He does not have his range in the split here, so this means that the wave will turn back onto the Serpent until he had a tank on the third column, maybe the fourth. So we'll see how he deals with that. Here, the split here is very good, allowing the Oathbreaker to tank a large portion of the wave, but not too much. This amount is only due to the fact there was a DT sent, no sense on the other lane. And Bonny is having a free full wave 3 stack generation, so that's good. And Cyanogen is still saving onto Bonny, so that's quite surprising. Normally Cyanogen is more of the greedy player, but looks like he will be doing a little bit more of a star game here with Larry following him. So we have the consort here in preparation for a wave 4 send from X-God. Looks like he is not guessing right here. He does not have the Harbinger for next wave. But the front line is still pretty good. But he will not be able to fend off something like a Imp Sand. So that is what is my guess currently. Cyanogen receiving the snails. He will be quite happy from that because he does increase the DPS output of his Tempest. But without having any kind of proper tank or proper DPS on that wave, Tempest is not the greatest DPS on this wave. He will be leaking here, but he leaked on 6 worker while Bonny's on 4. He's now on 7, and so he will be able to do pretty well here on next wave still, because he has a lot of fortified tanks and nature tanks as well. Only the damage is lacking. He does send here, and so he has the possibility to add some damage here, and that should be either another Tempest or a Steed. I think he will go for the other Tempest, very good on wave 6 as well, and can also help holding this wave here. So we'll see what he decides. The options are still open. Bonny did not go here for income. He does have the 2 Bounty Hunter, does boost the 2 Infiltrators as an answer to a possible send. He is guessing right here. And ooh, Exegod going for more consorts, so more vulnerability to imps. So that's not looking pretty for Exegod, but the consort are still doing a lot of damage to the wave. So let's see how this one goes. We'll zoom in a little bit. And the gate guard already down, meaning the steed now gets the damage reduction, but the imps are still alive. Most crucially, the imps are now taking some damage to the poison of the consorts, and it will be a small leak here, a small-ish leak from Bonny as well, 41% for both players, and that is 4 imps to the king. Well, this one is pretty much dead to 1 it, and so imps on king early on does a lot of damage. We did have a resend here from X-God to defend himself. It still wasn't enough, but it minimized the amount of damage that king will take here. But still, as you can see, the imps are still doing work. There are 2 of them alive, and they are down to 60% or a little bit less even. 59? 58? No, 59. I was close, 1% off. But now the sends are coming here. Still income from Bonny and X-God trying to recover from the leaks. They know that the long save might have generated more gold towards them. But looking at what gold is on the board currently, 1.4k on each side. So the gold on the board is equal on each side, meaning that they have generated the same amount of gold from the leaks than the enemy did from the income. And so they are still in a position to do pretty well. The advantage they took from that is a king HP difference. But now the income is back again on Xfeed, on Xgod and Bonny. We'll see how they manage to deal with these sands, 80 sand canopies out on Larry, so this means they will be able to hold. The Tempest are doing pretty well. There are currently only 1 Tempest remaining. There are 2 Bucklers and 1 Steed. Steed sharing the aggro with the Buckler. Buckler now tanking, and only 1 is remaining. Who is winning between the Tempest and the Roko? It will be very close. And it is the Roko winning, but that is only 1 Roko leak compared to the King HP they took. Sayajin and Larry would take that any day, and they take the worker lead from that, and they go big on 7. So this might be a very quick game if this send is successful. Oh, and Bonny preparing for 8 here with the mask can backfire quite heavily. And Larry going for Brutes. We do have X-God going for Harbinger. Can be the difference maker here. It depends on how well the split does. He does have a lot of nature defense, so he's quite vulnerable there. But let's see. Bonny is on a lot of value. Despite receiving the mole here, he will also receive possibly snails. Lizard. Lizard is a choice here. Not sure if it is the best choice, but let's see how it does. Cygen does receive 2 snails yet again, but will be able to hold due to the Tempest. And Bonny is doing decently, but will be a leak here. The Bounty Hunter is not doing enough, neither does the Hellraiser. So it will be a leak to the King unless X-God is holding. Looks like the Harbinger is doing pretty well for himself. The summon is going out right now, but it will be a leak nonetheless here for X-God despite having the Harbinger, a Sludge and a Brute, a Mole, and 2 Sludges. Does this reduce them to below 20%? We do have Cyanogen leaking to double snail finally, in the end, sorry, despite having the Tempest, just the front line lacking a little bit. And the mole is doing a lot of job, but they will not go below 20%. It will be below 40%. It will be exactly 37% here remaining. So King HP still on the advantage of Cyanogen and Larry. And now they are taking the gold lead here with 2.1k compared to 2k. So this means that we do have the advantage definitely on their side. We do have the LOD coming out on Cyanogen, but the front line is still barely existent. So the send from X-God can be very problematic for him. But the values are good. The values are good on both sides. But the Holy Avenger on 8, not the best choice, I would say. Would have been better to see the Keule, but he decides to go for that, so let's see how he does with that. There's no buff of the Avenger. It's all depending on how much a canopy can tank and how long. Looking at how Saiyajin is doing, the LOD already has 2 summons out, will be soon to be a third. And it looks like it will be enough to hold for Saiyajin. The third Drake is going out now, while the first one is dying, so this is definitely a hold. And we have a hold also for the old Avenger, taking the worker lead once again, repelling the send, or the counter send, shall I say, from Bonny and X-God. So now what's the play? When you're looking at the LOD Tempest, when you're looking at the Avenger, Caller, it's pretty difficult to see what is the wave to send on, but they need to somehow reach wave 12. So wave 12 is possibly the wave to send, but you might say, well, he has Leviathan here on Saiyajin, so why would you go 12 here? So right now, what Saiyajin is lacking is frontline, so he still has time to add it, or to add more Tempest to burst down the wave, but currently, without any frontline or any Leviathans, wave 12 is definitely a wave to aim at. But now the income king from Bonny and X-God allows Saiyajin and Larry to put pressure on 11 to protect themselves. So that is crucial. But we do have the kingpins coming out from Bonny. One kingpin out for the moment. But the problem is that X-God and Bonny are both at 10 workers, while Saiyajin and Larry are both at 14 and 15 respectively. And there is Overwork and Giant Snell, and should I say to you that Giant Snell onto Kingpin is pretty much deadly. And so we might see here the 11th cent to finish things off. We do have the Berserker here from Bonny despite having the Kingpin shown. But here, X-God looking pretty decent here, preparing for 11. Can be the difference maker here. There's no defensive spells, but Guardian Angel on the Harbinger can be very good for him. And Bonny, Guardian Angel on the Kingpin can also be very potent. So let's see what they decide to do. The mistake that Bonny could make is to go for an Orchid and boosting it. If the Giant Snubs are to come, it can be very difficult for him to hold because of that. So we'll see. Right now they are doing only king ups onto Saiyajin and Larry, trying to save themselves from the long save they are receiving potentially. And Saiyajin going for the siege ram here. I think that is a slight mistake. It's still very good, but it's more vulnerable to the Orchid. So that's the thing. While if you do a range DPS with the Giant Snails, then you deny the possibility of having an impact with the Orchids. So let's see, Saiyajin going for Overwork, so that's why he decided towards that, because he wants to use those workers to potentially do a resend on 12, if they are allowed to do it. We do have the Fire Lord here on X-God. It is weird, to say the least. And he's putting the Guardian Angel on it, and instead of utilizing the bonus tank value going for the Gate Guard. So interesting. Bonny going for Guardian Angel on the Kingpin as expected. We do have here the 2 Mudmen that should be hardened here. And it does not seem to be the case here. So this means that Bonny is minus 400 and not hardened here. Does receive the Siege Ram. So we'll see how people do. We do have the Giant Snails onto X-God with the Witch. The Fire Lord is yet to take any damage here. The Gate Guard will be dying before the Fire Lord here, I do believe. Or am I mistaken here? No, it was indeed the case, so the Guardian Angel would have been a little bit more potent on the Harbinger to have a little bit extra tank value. But now we do have a leak from Bonny, we do have a leak from X-God here, and it will be game here with the Witch reaching the King, and they do end up losing here on this wave. So at first glance, it seemed pretty bad that Saiyajin did not utilize the Giant Snails, but with the utilization of Overwork, he was able to spam the DTs to counteract better uh, any Orchids to come. And the Siege Ram was pretty good to delay the Kingpins as they wanted. So in the end, was pretty good um, for Cyanogen to utilize this Sen, and that was perfectly executed. And he was already starting the Leviathans, so less and less waves were to be expected to be lethal for them. And 13 was pretty good against Cyanogen, but Larry would have had the Sovereign, so very good coverage as well. So it was very hard for Bonny and Exile. The slow start here from Bonny did help Cyanogen and Larry to go up into workers compared to the opponent, because bounty hunters are required to stay lower on the worker count compared to other builds in the early game. So they utilize this to take an early lead in King HP and income compared to Bonny. Um, and when he was considering to use the Kingpin, he was behind. So at best, he was equal in the mid game. But since they were doing income king ups, then they were behind, definitely, because the long save was coming onto them. So that's what happened. And we did have the finish here on wave 11. And a win for Saiyajin and Larry. So on that, I'm gonna say thank you for watching YouTube, and see you next time.